This is iRacing.
A circuit that has been home to many a controversy in the past, but is more known for two wheels rather than four. But today, when it comes to the Grand Prix Legends Series, it's about who's going to stand up and say they are making their challenge. We're in the heart of Andalusia here in Spain, and it means that the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto is going to be where the next battleground comes to play. It is all about great racing on the Global Sim Racing channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jake Sperry. Alongside with me for today's coverage is Joseph Black, with Daniel Costello in a director's chair using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But with a championship that is closing on in and drivers looking to make statements, it's about a circuit that relatively has a whole heap of great corners to go along with it. Let's take a look at what makes this circuit so special with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Circuito de Jerez. With a rich history of both open wheel and motorcycle racing, this track has been the center of Spanish motorsports for many years. It can be found at the very southern tip of the country, located just an hour and a half from the Strait of Gibraltar. Its two layouts include 13 or 15 turns over roughly 2 3/4 miles, and the only distinction between them is the inclusion or exclusion of the center chicane. While it's probably best known for its Formula One races in the 80s and 90s, it's now mostly utilized by sports cars and lower-level open-wheelers. A mix of fast sweepers are punctuated by a handful of sharp hairpins, requiring both good mechanical and aero grip for a stable car. Perhaps the most notorious of the turns is Dry Sack, which was recently renamed to Dani Pedrosa after the famous motorcycle champion. But the corner saw Schumacher and Villeneuve decide the 1997 F1 championship by colliding, only to have the Canadian limp his car home to claim the title. Because of the warm climate, winter testing is very popular here. On top of that, the lap length and modern facilities make it ideal for a wide variety of types of racing. Judging by how much use it sees even 40 years after it was built, it certainly shows no sign of slowing down.
Jerez is one of those circuits that just absolutely oozes character when you go about it. Running the Moto layout here today, so no Ayrton Senna chicane. It will mean here, Joseph, that they have an almighty challenge coming out of Palucci corner of turn 10 to take Alex Creville and Ferrari before hitting Jorge Lorenzo, the final corner on track.
It will, and it'll most likely be a great overtaking opportunity down into 13 if they can set themselves up well through 11 and 12. And yeah, it should be one of those races that it should throw up some surprises, as they wouldn't necessarily be used to using the Moto circuit, but that is what they have today. And so it's going to be a lot higher speed into 13, Jorge Lorenzo, and down onto the first corner.
So this is where great battling comes to life, and you will see that here with us on the Global Sim Racing channel. Let's talk, though, where we are in the championship here with these Lotus 49s, because we are getting very much into an interesting scenario. Just the 4 points splitting the top three, but we expect Mick Claridge is bowing out of championship contention. He's not here to, well, he is here today, but he's now looking to try and make sure that he doesn't have any of the issues he had last time out. Nieva leads on 278. Henry Morse back by 2. Mick Claridge by 4, and then Nicola Cocchi is back by 15, but he is also going to be on holiday for the next couple of weeks, as is traditional with Italy, so he is going to lose a little bit of ground there. Kevin Verbruggen then leads the best of the rest in 5th, with John Olsen and Gary Ho 6th and 7th, split by just a point. Seb Tixier in 8th position, with Robert Plumley 9th and Gary Quellin rounding out your top 10 in the category and proving just how important the battling is. The F2 standings, for those who have a little less in terms of iRacing, Joseph, though, still proving to be an interesting battleground.
Yeah, it certainly is. 4 points between the top two. Mats Linden at the top with 153, ahead of David Tomaski with 149. Zenkar only 13 points off the top, and Donald Peak only 25. Then Tobias Arnby is in 5th. Thomas Villershausen is in 6th. Henry Verumaki is in 7th. Sandeep Banerjee is 8th. Mikhail Zabala is in 9th. And Josephine Becker rounds out your top 10. All 10 split by just 75 points.
Yep, so that's still a lot to gain back, and you can certainly find a way in the Cup of Nations, which is all about nationality that you represent on iRacing. Spain have control over the United States, with Italy third, and the dream team of Sao Tome and Principe find themselves in 4th position. The United Kingdom are 14 points back of that in 5th, with the Netherlands in 6th, and Tuvalu represented in 7th place. It then follows a point back with Hong Kong. Brazil are 9th, and Sweden round out your top 10 as far as category goes. But if you are here for the first time and you don't know how the racing is going to go about and how long we'll be racing for, well, we're just about to end the second third of the season, Joseph, and that is how long we've got to battle for.
Yeah, not long to go now, and so the championships, while they're still close, are going to reach their climax very soon. But 8 rounds so far gone, or this is the 8th round of 12. 20 laps. They have open setups. They don't have the opportunity to get spare cars, and well, 2 X's or 17 X's will find you with a drive-through, and 25 for a disqualification, and it should be one of those circuits which is going to push the limits of those drivers in terms of that, of course, the run down to the first corner. If they get it a little bit wrong, they can sort of throw themselves off and not quite be able to stay on the lap, and might rack themselves up those points as a result. But yeah, we're not far off from the start. 4 minutes left in our qualifying session.
They've got 2 laps available to them to set a qualifying time. They must set them within 8 minutes out there. Hervé Trengarade, then the classic specialist, is on pole as it stands on a 1:41.9. So a very nice bit of speed. Kevin Verbruggen going 3rd quickest. As you can see, the very dusty sections around this circuit, a lot of gravel runoff pretty much here, there and everywhere. And the look then from Danny Pedrosa corner, turn 6, sometimes known as dry sack, as down the hill they go and look to push down on the brakes into the hairpin there. And you really get a look of where drivers are expecting to find pace. JDS is there, Jack David Spickett, and the number 10 car of Henry Morse, who is the driver in hot form at the moment, goes second on a 42.1.
Yeah, Henry Morse up onto the front row at the moment, and he's about a 10th off of Trengarade at the top of the standings at the moment. And yeah, as you say, very, very good form so far, and he's challenging those up the very top of the field, for example, Claridge and Verbruggen, who've gone up there. But now, the more competitors they have, the more competitive the field will get. And with 2 minutes 50 left in the qualifying session, with a lap time around a 1:42 if you can get it right, and a 1:41 if you're Trengarade, then you don't have much more of an opportunity. I believe there's only going to be one more lap for most of these drivers to be able to stake their claim for pole.
Yeah, working around then through turn number 7 out on circuit and leading to Aspar Corner. Turn number 8, where they're down to just 125 kilometers an hour through this section. They don't have a lot of well, they are reliant fully on mechanical grip. They don't have the likes there of the aerodynamic. Mick Claridge up to a 41.7, blitzes the top of the times by 2/10 overall. So for Henry Morse, this is a big charge through Alex Creville. Now the Ferrari corner, and leading to that final turn, slightly on camber as you go in to Jorge Lorenzo. It's a slingshot final corner, 70 clicks as you look to drive off of the exit. Will Henry Morse find a way to the front row, or even better to pole? Crosses the line, a 1:41.752, takes it away by 0.04 of a second.
Yeah, snatching that pole position, but not by much of a margin. And, well, he's just under half a tenth in ahead of Claridge at the moment, so that is an incredible lap time, considering as well the margin that they have to the rest of the field. There is 2 tenths between Claridge and Trengareed, so they are pushing at the limits of what they're able to do around this Jerez circuit. As we get to the last minute left in qualifying, we're watching on with Jack Wells. He's 12th at the moment and hopes to be able to climb anywhere higher in this field, because of course the mid-pack, there's always carnage. You want to manage yourself as much as possible and up to the top of the field. He will try to aim, but I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to challenge with Mourice and Claridge at the moment after their incredible lap times. There's less than a minute to go and he will round the final corner.
And I noticed as Wells goes round the final corner, that Jacob Reed had a spin at the final corner and so's down only on a 1:47.1. The number 1 rated driver at the back. Wells giving a wiggle for the camera as he crosses the line, knowing that he's got an off track somewhere. That lap will not count and will not do. Jacob Reed will run out of time here as he heads over to Cito Pond, turn number 5, here to get his lap time in and sorted. So this field is officially going to be stacked and sorted, and it will be one which we can run through in about the next 10 seconds time. If you haven't had the chance to already and you're brand new to us here on the Global Sim Racing channel, do all those amazing YouTube things. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe for more amazing content that is brought to you by us and the team here from the Global Sim Racing channel as part of a Genesis Extreme production. Henry Mourice, the man in form, is on the pole position with Mick Claridge alongside for company on the front with a 41.796 of his own. Hervé Trengareed and Kevin Verbruggen will house row number 2, as the third row is an Olsen affair. John Olsen ahead of Laus Olsen. They're 2 different spellings of Olsen, 5th and 6th. Jack David Spickett will go from 7th with Gary Ho in 8th, leaving Arturus Condelis 9th and Gary Quellin rounding out your top 10.
And rounding out the top 5 rows as well, as the 6th row is consisting of Benjamin Soko and Jack Wells. Roberto Pangrazzi and Alan Graham alongside each other on row 7. 4 tenths off of Jack Wells' time. Then it's pretty tight in this mid-pack with Mickey Friesen and Luca Harrison, Jorge Gonzaga and Kyle Ridley, and then Josephine Becker and Ryan Walker rounding out your top 10 rows and rounding out your top 20.
Yeah, 27 drivers here today, meaning it's Robert Plumley in 21st with Jorge Lopez Izquierdo in 22nd. Tobias Hanvey is 23rd ahead of David Tomaszki, with Mats Linden, the last time set by Jacob Reed, and then Seb Clapper, or Sebastian Tixier as he's more well known, will be going then from the back of the field, as is tradition with the surname. So, as it goes, this is a very tight-knit community, and it is an uphill drag towards turn number 1, which is Expo 92. So you've got to make sure you get that sorted. It's 100 degrees worth of right-hand bend and up to Michelin at turn number 2. There is always a chance. It starts very similar to a circuit like Brands Hatch, just without the elevation change that is in play. So they do have a bit of experience of how to go forward for it. This, though, is going to be one of the toughest starts out there as we watch with Barney the Flagman. 2 minutes then on the clock. Engine note about to rise, and let's get ourselves ready because 20 laps are underway. It's a slow start from Henry Mourice. It's even slower from Hervé Trengareed, and Mick Claridge gets the best launch of the lot and runs into turn number 1 with the race lead. Trengareed has dropped down to about 8th, 9th place. They're going through the opening corners, but there's no give up at the moment from Henry. Inside, and Michelin steals the position right back and maintains that race lead. Verbruggen watches on from 3rd.
Very good move from Henry Mourice there, just to take that lead ahead of Claridge. And, well, he set himself up despite not having the best start. He braked early and got the exit for turn 2, which is exactly what he needed to do as everybody filters through. It's Mourice leading Claridge, leading Verbruggen, and the top pack are remaining in formation, but they're picking up that slipstream, and this could be Spickett going for a move on Olsen, looking for that outside line, not able to sense it, and so he's going to go for a late lunge down the inside. Is he going to make this one stick? It's going to be late on the brakes, and he does. That's a pretty clean move from Spickett, and he's up to 5th.
Yeah, easy pass on John Olsen, using Danny Pedrosa's corner as a way to get it done, and it's always a battle of the brakes when you go there. Middle of the pack now, Luca Harrison brings himself forward and says, what can I do? Side by side as Alan Graham is on the wrong side of the road. Now trying to get Nieto corner sorted here and leading to Palucci, which is the last great setup corner on the lap. If you get this one correct, you're brilliant. Oh, and they start almost junking up behind. Pangrazzi had to get out of it. So too Mickey Friesen, Josephine Becker, she's in the mix, and now gets the inside of Alex Gravel, and now is hoping for the drive and manages.
Well, that was somebody going in the air momentarily. A bit of contact between these drivers in this pack as they still filter through. A huge send on the outside. I believe that is Reed trying to go for the move, and he's made the send, but also made the exit. He's up into P17, and that is an incredible move that launches himself into the chasing pack and, well, away from the pressure that's being faced from behind us. Everybody in this pack wouldn't be surprised if they are side by side. It's like Noah's Ark. Down nearer the bottom of the field, Pangrazzi leads the pack. Reed continues his way forward, gains another position, or tries to at least, on Josephine Becker around the outside, and the number 1 is into 16th.
Yeah, he's so good at making pace like this. He is a 2-time champion at the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour. That's in the Mercedes W13E Performance for reference. So he is lightning quick. He's leading the championship when it comes to the work that we've got with work with the Lotus GT, the Nissan GTPs out there at the moment when it comes to IMSA Vintage, so doing very well. That's Gary Ho, a little bit slow then in the pack, and they're starting to form a group of 5 and a group of 4. Gary falls to the back of the group behind Hervé Trengarade there, so that was a case of one car running wide down at Pedrosa corner, which was Laus Olsen. It forced 3 wide off the exit and nowhere to go after that. Running through now into Palucci corner and off the exit at the front, it's still Henry Morse, but only just.
Yes, still only just. There's about 3/10 between the top 2 as everybody's pretty close. The top 4 start to separate themselves from the rest of the pack. 5th down to 12th. Looks like a pack of its own, and Gary Ho is right in the thick of things in 9th place, representing Hong Kong, of course. And as they head onto what will be the 3rd lap of this race, Claridge tries to close in on Morse. He'll pick up a little bit of slipstream, but not that much, as fastest lap goes to Jack David Spickett with a 1:42.851, taking it off Henry Morse. And as they go a little bit further down the field, more times coming, and unsurprising then that it's going to be Reed that takes the fastest lap, as we get a bit of a replay here. What has happened down the order involving Mickey Friesen, the number 15, and well, it looks like there might have been a bit of netcode. Either way, he has spun out of the corner and he's been tagged by the 14, and that's really not what you want.
No, absolutely not. That's how quickly it can go wrong. It was Kyle Ridley into the side of Mickey Friesen, but the key to that was all about just locking the rear tyres up, not getting what was needed. Roadrunner is in play for Hervé Trengarade just in front of him. That side by side. Oh, tag! Arturus Gundelis with a big tag. What a save there with contact with John. Gary Ho will pick up a freebie, but how that doesn't end up in a 4-5 car pileup is beyond me.
I'm not sure how they managed to do that, but that is testament to the quality of these drivers' racecraft in this top pack. They're up here for a reason, and that reason is they are incredibly quick and safe drivers. And, well, they will continue on through. Trengarade suffering a scare, and he is down in 9th place at the moment, dropping that position to Ho. We get another replay here. What's happened between the number 22, Seb, and number 12, and that he's gone for a move to the inside, a late defence, and an aerial moment from Clapper.
Yeah, there, Seb was very unhappy on the radio. It was, why do you do that? Why do you keep moving? I'm sure that Ryan decided just to lift off the power there and go straight back into there. Those two deciding that they're not going to be on the Christmas card list this year. That much is for certain. But Ben Shoko, now in 11th position, is looking to try and make some progress here, just in front of the likes of Jacob Reed, for example, who's now going to be the direct competitor behind, through on Luca Harrison, and that is now a gain of 13 places, half the field dispatched in just a shade over 3 laps worth of racing. So it's now every second counts. Jorge Gonzaga now looking to bring in play, because there's the likes of Roberto Pangrazzi, who runs a little bit wide through Cito Pons, and Robert Plumley, then the man from London, trying to work out a way to drive back through.
And Jorge Gonzaga here maybe looking to that inside on the 26. Attack might be the best form of defence for him as he tries to ward off the car in behind, and it seems to have worked. And yeah, he holds the position ahead of Plumley as it stands. But Gonzaga coming under pressure from Plumley while attacking Pangrazzi. It's a huge moment of... Well, he'll have a moment where he'll just think, do I attack, do I defend? Which one is going to be the right one to do? And at the moment, Jorge Gonzaga is balancing the two things as it stands. A wide moment out of the corner, and Gonzaga might have an opportunity here to look down the inside, but covered off. And so he will not make his way through on Becker, but that does not make his way through on Pangrazzi even, who holds the position, P17 for now. And Gonzaga still looking for this move, looking to the inside of Jorge Lorenzo, but does not make the move stick. So Jorge Gonzaga does not make the move into Jorge Lorenzo. The same can't be said for Carl Ridley, who moves to 22nd.
Mick Claridge picks up the fastest lap of the race and moves back within 0.2 of a second. It was 9/10 the last time they crossed the line, so they've certainly seen a lot of movement there. And look at Mick through turn 4. He's had a couple laps just to cool the engine off. You'd feel a little bit there. The most famous engine, Joseph, in all of motorsport, the Ford DFV Cosworth.
Yes, it's a very, very iconic engine. Existed in Formula One for a number of years. I believe it was around 50 where it made its claim to be one of the most iconic engines of all time. And of course, with the way that they change engines every single year now, I think it's going to have the most races in Formula One history. It's certainly going to have the most entries. But Henry Morse leading the way ahead of Mick Claridge, who picked up the fastest lap on the last. And Verbruggen as well, not too far behind. He's only about a 10th in past Mick Claridge, and so these three are fighting away. Don't forget about Spickett as well. He's only 2/10 back, so will be there to latch upon any mistakes made by any of these front runners. But Morse trying to extend his advantage at the top of the field. He dropped it momentarily at the start. He and Claridge have been almost inseparable all race weekend long so far, and we're only 5 laps into the race, only 7 if you count qualifying, and these two are only split by hairs.
Yeah, and Henry Morse is the driver in form. He's won the last 3 races. The driver who won the race before that at Mid-Ohio round 4 was Mick Claridge. So it gives you great insight into where everybody is. And with no Jorge Nieva here today, it's a guarantee of a new championship leader in the back pocket. But for the time being, the second group still starting to form up here. John Olsen there as we take a look at Gary Ho using a full motion rig there. You can see it through the corners how the seat slides about there at this stage. It's not necessarily the quickest way, but you see this from a lot of drivers. They love feel, they love the authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's the best way to experience the racing, especially with that realistic wheel he's got on there. Of course, at this time, the Formula cars did not have the modern steering wheels. They had a more traditional round steering wheel. And we might have a move for the race lead as Morse is just that 10th ahead on Claridge. But Claridge trying to open himself up on the exit. Is he able to take the opportunity? No, he's forced to stay behind. But he's opening up those gaps. He's creating those opportunities, and I'm sure he'll strike soon.
Oh, trying around the outside of turn number 8. Very tough to get Aspar corner sorted and has to fall back into line. Kevin Verbruggen not able to attack, but that's too deep into the next corner. Issues compound issues, and Mick Claridge is thrown to the back of the pack. Verbruggen up to second. JDS is now third.
Yeah, and Tuvalu's finest drops off the podium positions, which is not what he wanted, especially with the momentum he'd built up over the first few laps of this race. And he's going to need to try and find his way back through. And speaking of momentum, here's a driver with a lot of it. Jacob Reed, who did have the fastest lap. It has been snatched back by Mick Claridge, but he is scything his way through the field with precision, and he's setting up another move here on Wells for the top 10, opening up the final corner, opening down the main straight with that slipstream. He's out of that slipstream now, and he's just using pure momentum to make the move stick down the inside into the first corner, into Expo 92. He's got the fastest lap, and he's got P10.
He's only 6.5 seconds here as Jacob Reed off of the race lead outright. This is some wonderful pace that's being there, and that's Luca Harrison slow on the exit of Expo 92, and that's going to be a couple places dropped because of it, and it looks to me like it's all on his own. He's tried to turn the car in, and he's just lost grip through the middle of the corner. It's worth talking about this. Track temperature, 47 degrees Celsius out there. It's slick.
It certainly is. It is incredibly slick out there, and the drivers are going to have to try and cope with that. They've got grippier tyres than most modern day racing cars, so they have the opportunity to, but they also have less aerodynamic cars. As Gary Quellin off of the circuit, that's not ideal for him.
Not at all, and that again, another mistake. That's just a missed braking zone into the corner. He's gone sailing into the corner, and now it leaves Alan Graham in a side-by-side battle behind here against Luca Harrison trying to get by. Jorge Gonzaga has managed to find a way through, but now look at the drive off the exit of Aspar. It opens up Nieto corner and takes that one down the inside. Can you get the power down early to attack Palucci? Answers yes, try to shut the door, wasn't there. Huge amounts of slides from Luca Harrison, loses the place.
Unfortunately, I think that's the right thing to happen in that situation. Luca Harrison tried to close off the corner so quickly, and it felt as though that slide sort of just handed the position, finished the battle before it could get a little bit too spicy, and that's exactly what's happened. Arturus Kundelis with the fastest lap, stolen once again by Jacob Reed, who's closed in on Traeger Reed for that 9th place, and now is breaching the top 10. It's 5th down to 11th in that pack, and he is well within the fight at the moment for that top 5, and if he can breach Olsen, then he can make his way up to the top 4. And Claridge, Spickett, Verbruggen and Morse have been scrapping all race long. You feel like, though, if they were to make any rash moves, then it could open up the opportunity for somebody like Olsen to make his way right back into the battle, but for the moment it's the top 4 continuing on. Verbruggen has looked scary on the back of Morse over the last few laps, and you feel like he's trying to set up a move.
You certainly do. He's trying to work out where's the right place to go. But the issue you find here, Joseph, at a circuit like this, is that the straights are just 100 metres too short everywhere.
Yeah, it certainly feels like it. It feels like you have to set yourself up and then you're going to have to go for a gamble into the corner. That's exactly what happened on the first lap a few laps ago with Reed, where he went for the inside on Wells, and he could have had it sealed before the corner, but if it was 100 metres longer, but it just wasn't quite that long, and so he had to dive it to the inside a little bit more, which is where the overtaking opportunities present themselves. They look maybe more appealing than they potentially are, and that could fall some drivers very foul, and some drivers as well missing their braking points. We've seen them go off the circuit, and that may be a reason why.
Alan Graham has retired from the race. He has found the barriers at the exit of turn 2 on track, so he will now be the second retiree after Seb Tixier, Seb Clapper out there, as Arturus Kundelis now looking to eye up a top 5 against Laus Olsen, but Laus holding the Michelin corner nicely, and you can see the 2 different lines being taken. The attack of turn 3 to open up turn 4 here by Kundelis is very, very telling. Heading up over the hill now to Cito Ponds, which is the highest section of the circuit. Trengarade runs wide, and that's a freebie there for Jacob Reed to go and get that done. On the exit of turn 4, you can see scraps like this being really important, and now John Olsen also underneath the ringer right now, because Gary Ho trying to eye up a move then here at Danny Pedrosa corner just before the halfway stage of the race, and doesn't quite get the angle he wants.
No, hasn't quite opened up the angle as much as he would have wanted to, but Reed was pressuring Trengarade into the corner, and clearly it's worked out for him as Trengarade ran wide, and any pressure that he might have been able to apply as a counter-attack on Reed has, been put to pay, really, and he moves up into 9th place. His next target is Gary Ho, who in himself is looking at Olsen right up ahead. 7th place being fought over right now, and Reed with the fastest lap of the race with the most momentum by far is looking for an opportunity to strike on Ho right up ahead, hoping for a mistake. There's been a couple on the last lap from Ho as he's tried to go aggressively on the back of Olsen. It's not quite worked, and so Reed is just a 10th behind as they head out of Curva Jorge Lorenzo and down to the first corner. Trengarade took a tighter line. Reed opened it up massively, and so is going to try and get the momentum on Gary Ho down to the first corner, down to Expo 92, but he hasn't done it, and so he remains behind for another lap. And you feel as though every lap that Reed keeps behind Ho is an opportunity missed.
Well, it's about finding the way to attack, and again, he takes this very aggressive line through turn 2. He got Trengarade this way. Last lap, he almost finds a way to nibble through against Gary Ho this time, but Gary's got the slipstream of John Olsen in front, so that's an equaliser right now in the way that they are scrapping about for what is 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Out there in this group. So the moment you get stuck in the train, it's tough. For the race lead, side by side, Kevin Verbruggen has gone to the outside trying to look for a pass and hasn't quite managed it, and it's opened him up now. Jack David Spickett trying to go the long way around here at turn number 7, and now they're going to start fighting amongst each other. They've got to get clearance or they'll allow Henry Morse to run away around the outside. Jack David Spickett will have the inside when it comes to Aspar corner and Naniato corner. Here, this right-hander doesn't quite get it, still trying to find a way through. Can he confirm it at Palucci? Verbruggen has done very well on the outside. Now he doesn't have drive. They have to wait for Alex Creville to go and get this corner sorted. Here comes Mick Claridge down to the inside, trying to get that move done, and ultimately he now looks for a nip through, and there's contact between them. Somehow they hold it together. Verbruggen holding on to third, and Henry Morse now almost a second clear.
Felt like they were both trying to duke the other one out. They both felt as though they were quick enough to keep up with Henry Morse, but they both wanted the position, and it's actually cost them a lot of time. Verbruggen as well with that contact with Claridge has dropped them to almost a second behind Spickett as well. So this fight has turned from a four-way fight for the lead to a two-way fight for the final podium position, unless they're able to catch Spickett, who's able to catch Morse, but it feels like too steep a task right now.
Yeah, and Jacob Reed has gone through on the likes then of Gary Ho, managed that through Nieto corner, turn number 9, and now is opening up attacks on John Olsen now for position, heading up over the top of Cito Pond and looking to dive and descend down the hill. This has become an all-important battleground as we enter the second half of this race. This would be another one for Jacob Reed, who pitches, does the Worcesterman down to the inside and gets it slowed up in the middle of the corner against John Olsen, who's repping Sao Tome and Principe for the course of this season. Well done, Jacob Reed, now up to 7th.
He's up to 7th, but he's got a gap to bridge to 6th, as Kundelis and Olsen very quick in their own rights, and they have built up a gap down to 8th place, which is now 7th place, which is currently about 1.2 seconds, which is light work in comparison to what Reed's had to do so far this race. His pace has been extraordinary, and he continues it on as Gary Ho and Trengarade might be fighting it out here. Trengarade getting the exit off of the corner and trying to set himself up well for a move into the final. Turn 13 on this circuit, and Trengarade taking the wide line, taking a tight apex into the corner, which sets himself up well for the exit, but a slight slide has cost him a bit of time, which means he's not going to go for Gary Ho on this lap. Ho might be going for Olsen.
Yeah, Olsen's in the middle of the road defending, and it's opening up the door here on the exit for Hervé, who's seen it all, who's done it all, has to catch a bit of a slide coming out of Expo 92 and can't quite find a way to make it happen. Jacob Reed, though, what an interesting character he is, the way he's just been dicing through the field. His day job, believe it or not, is a data scientist. So the scientist concocting another wonderful thing, as now they're battling in front. Arturas Kandelis, the Lithuanian, trying to get by the Swede, Laust Olsen.
Yes, and he's not quite successful at the moment, but he's still a 10th behind and applying all that pressure on the back of the 13, staying in behind. Again, wide line. This appears to be the way that you need to overtake in the 49s. It's the wide line, the tight apex, and then the wide exit. Just getting yourself the opportunity to open up the corner as much as you can. And Kundelis still only a 10th behind, and it feels like he's just waiting for Olsen to make a mistake before he can pounce.
Yeah, this is about trying to find an opportunity. Has a snap in the middle, thinking about the inside, going into turn 9 at Nieto. Now over to Palucci, turn 10, and you just sit and watch Arturas Kandelis, and he was so close to finding a victory last time out at Oulton Park. The pace sometimes runs a bit hot and cold, but for the moment, 1 second almost, as Jack David Spickett is desperate to get close to Henry Morse, but he's got himself at an arm's length. Would you believe me when it comes to this, Joseph, when I say that Henry Morse only bought the track last week?
Well, it's an impressive turnaround then, and Henry Moores must have been grinding away. He knows somehow the way to extract the pace from the circuit, which is the difference between a good driver and a great driver. As Jacob Reed's fastest lap of the race once again, he closed in on Cundalis, but that is a sign of a great driver, somebody who's able to just pick up a circuit. And as Fernando Alonso said, he only needs half a lap to learn one, and Henry Moores hasn't had a long time to learn it, as Lars Olsen is being overtaken around the outside, and he's gone under as well. Jacob Reed has made his way through, and also losing 2 positions. He got sandwiched, and in the end he dropped out of it, and Jacob Reed taking the pressure that he's just applied to Olsen, or he was planning to apply to Olsen, and putting it all on Cundalis as they run down the straight.
Yep, now into the next right here at Dani Pedrosa. It will be the long road for Jacob Reed. Can he get drive against Arturus Cundalis? No is the answer. So well defended there by Arturus, but Laust Olsen went aggressive into the corner and paid the price for it in the form of Jacob Reed, just seeing that the door was going to open, and he leapt through it very much like a whippet straight out the door. It was wonderful to see that pass, and now Arturus has the job of trying to bolt a runaway stallion out there at this moment, the form of Jacob Reed. But the top 4 are the big prize at the moment, and they are a long ways away at this stage, working now through Ferrari corner, turn 12, leading now. Oh, a huge wiggle on the exit there. You can really sense how hard Arturus is having to push just to keep Jacob Reed at bay, out of Lorenzo, and now they take the dip down the hill and back up again towards Expo 92, as they will now have 7 laps to go. Jacob Reed is eyeing every corner as a chance.
He certainly is. He is not taking any opportunity lightly, and he will take any opportunity to make his way through, following through Michelin, then through 3 and 4, I'd imagine, as he opens up the corner and might get through into Saito Ponds, might not even need to make it to the corner, as just opening up that door, but Cundalis slams it shut once again. Here is Saito Ponds, but he's just a little bit too far back on this occasion. Cundalis running just that little bit wide, and Reed trying to take the opportunity again, the tight apex, but Cundalis slightly more consistent, going not quite so tight on the apex, but not quite so wide into the corner, which is allowing him to just maintain that speed. But Reed, when he's pushing and when he's got this momentum up, I have no reason why he shouldn't keep pushing and continue to attack for the top 5, which is only 1 position away with 7 to go.
The one thing that Jacob Reed can consistently do is he has to put full opposite lock on there through Aspar corner turn 8. If he can go narrower and maintain the speed, it might be because his tyres are on a bit of a knife edge, so to speak. That's what we call camber, and that might be making the difference. Here's Kevin Verbruggen now, looking to try and get back at Jack David Spickett. They've worked the gap down to half a second, but Verbruggen realises with, 6 laps in the corner to go, he's got to work out, well, am I racing for second or am I racing for first? And he feels that if he can get by Jack David Spickett, he's best placed to attack Henry Moores.
You'd think so, and well, Verbruggen is trying to open up an opportunity. He's got no pressure from behind. Claridge is over a second back, and so it's all on Verbruggen to try and attack us into the first corner. Laust Olsen is going to apply the pressure once again. It's Olsen versus Olsen heading through the first corner, and at the moment Laust comes out in second place, but he still looks to try and open up that opportunity, looking at an inside move into the third, but can't quite open it up, and so he will stay behind for now in 8th place, chasing that 7th, which is opening up the gap between the Olsens and Reed and Cundalis.
Yeah, there's been a huge gap build and develop, and John Olsen now sees it at 1.2 seconds now as they cross the line, and these two have been doing 1:42s out there. They've kept about a similar time to your race leader as they've gone through. A little look there on Laust, who's representing Denmark today in the number 13 machine, with Gary Ho on the back in 9th place. Your top 10 still split by 10 seconds out there after 15 laps worth of racing, after 25 minutes. It's not often that you get to say that. That's super speedway sort of gap that you're starting to see by comparison. But Jacob Reed is still figuring out whether he can find a way through, but Arturus is doing a really good job. He's not making life easy for this overtake, and this is a circuit where if you just hit your marks out there each and every single corner, you have to do something quite special to go and get a pass.
This is why it's more of a moto circuit than for these cars, because it's just that little bit too thin, and the drivers are feeling that at the moment, or especially Reed is feeling that at the moment, as those opportunities that he opened up on all those drivers before aren't quite coming for this move on Kundelis. He did pull alongside, but backed off down the straight. So maybe he didn't feel as though a move into turn one was worth it, or maybe he made a huge send, maybe a too big send into the final corner, which it just didn't help him.
I reckon it was a missed shift there by Jacob Reed. I think that's the only thing that you can attribute there along the straight. He had the run, he had the momentum, but missed the shift as he was going up through the gears. So running the Team Lotus colours, he's going to have to find another way to go and get this move, as Mick Claridge is being dropped off of the front group. Maybe he's burnt his tyres up too aggressively at the start of this race, and now he's a second and a half back of your leading trio at the moment. Moore, Spickett and Verbruggen making up your top three. Jacob Reed still looking for a way to move into the top five, but Arturas Kundelis is proving he is a tough customer to try and get by. It is very difficult the way he's going about it, but Jack David Spickett right now is proving here in the Beltoise colours there, so I would say that he's very much running Ligier-Matra colours out there at the moment here. He is proving that he is as tough as they come when it comes to racing action. He wants drive, he wants position, and critically, he wants place on Henry Morse.
Yes, and he might get it with 5 to go now, as the time is ticking down and his opportunities are just closing up. But wide entry into the corner, and Spickett, driving Jean-Pierre Beltoise's car, is hoping to take the lead and take the victory that never came to Beltoise as they head down at the main straight now, and just not quite opening up that door once again. Henry Morse slamming it shut once again, holding that lead, and well, it's just, I think it's going to be a matter of time before Spickett pulls alongside.
Well, pulling alongside's one thing, getting the move confirmed is another, and Henry Morse is trying to maximise the exits here, and the big key is turn 5, Cito Pond. If you can get this corner correct, you're not under threat when you come over this section. You take this rise over the top of the crest, 120 kilometres an hour, but then you're immediately on the aggressive noise. We've got another retiree from this race. It's Jorge Lopez Izquierdo, who is now your third retiree, but it's the middle of the road here by Henry Morse, and he's starting to defend now into corners. This is putting him under pressure. Jacob Reed to the outside now, looking for the top 5. Kundelis holding the inside line, but the next 2 corners are left-handers here, and so that will favour the likes of Jacob Reed, who gets the drive through the first part. But here comes the switchback here from one Mr. Arturas Kundelis. Oh, and they tangle. Jacob Reed goes around.
Yes, Jacob Reed goes round and drops a little bit further down the order, and he's going to have to make that work all over again. But with 4 laps to go, he won't be able to make his way up to where he was before, and he will be absolutely fuming in that number 149. And yeah, he drops to 10th place, and well, number 1 is in 10th place, number 10 is in P1, and Henry Morse holding that position at the moment. Spickett again trying to sense an opportunity. He might have the outside line here, but Morse drifting across will take the middle line into the first corner, which means that Spickett does not have much of an opportunity around that outside, but that doesn't stop him from trying to go for it anyway, trying to hold that outside line. But again, he's just not able to hold it in there, as Morse just moves across, just takes enough of a position for Spickett to feel under pressure, and so not take the position. But now just a 10th behind. Is he able to open up another door? He opened it up into turn 1, and he's going to try and do it again.
Jack David Spickett is driving like a Springer Spaniel who's just smelt a sausage in the pocket of the likes of Henry Morse. He is left, he is right, he is up, he is down, he is sideways, slantaways, any which ways to try and find his pass. But Henry is not giving in this one. He has led every single lap of this race so far from the front in a resolute defensive stance out there. This is staunch in the way that he's defending, and against the odds, some would say as well, with the way that Jack David Spickett is trying to find every way to find a move. You can see he tries narrow off the exit, big slide, as he now catches there the over-rotation of the steering wheel. He is doing what he can with 2.5 laps to go, and I feel that final corner, Jorge Lorenzo, is where it's all going to come down to, because Jack has proven that that corner is possibly the one where he's at the best, and that's wide there from Henry Morse, and this might open up the chance now. Look at the run that Jack's going to get here. It's going to have to be defended to the inside. Everybody finds a way through. Verbruggen forces it 3 wide for a fan for just a brief moment.
Yes, he sensed an opportunity, but it was not that much of an opportunity. It wasn't opportune enough for Verbruggen to find his way through, and Spickett actually going for that line has compromised his exit, meaning that he can't get as good a run down to turn 1. In the meantime, Trengerade has defended from Reed successfully, as Reed is desperate to get back past and into that 9th place. I don't know whether he's going to be able to get through, as Trengerade is pulling off a Kundelis level defensive performance at the moment. Spickett chasing Morse, and he's 3/10 back. Make that 2/10 on the exit of the corner. Once again, Spickett gets a good run, and it feels like here he's getting all of the runs, but, well, nothing is coming off at the end of it, so he's creating those opportunities, but hasn't yet been able to pounce.
Henry Morse has been brilliant in the mirrors. He's looked left, right, and he knows where to place the car. And again, he covers off the inside by taking a past 1 car width exactly away from where he needs to be. And Joseph, that is everything he needs to do around this track where it's tough to pass.
He certainly does. Just get that car in the right place and you cannot be overtaken, which is why Reed was able to make his way through the cars further down that maybe do not have the greatest comfortability on this Jerez circuit. But when he faced up against Kundelis, who knew exactly what this Jerez circuit was about, he struggled to get through, and Kundelis now in a very well-earned 5th place as there's only 2 laps to go in this race. Henry Morse holds on to this lead that he's held this whole time, and Spickett just that 2nd place that he managed to snatch earlier on after moves between Verbruggen and Claridge went wrong, and well, the number 8 has stayed there ever since. 3/10 back on Henry Morse with just the 1 lap to go.
Well, it all sits down to a grandstand here at the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto. Henry Morse has played keep away with the race lead. Jack David Spickett now looking to try and open up an opportunity to attack. He made a mistake at turn number 9 out there, which was Nieto corner. That opened up a couple tenths of a second, but it's given him the license to attack through the opening couple of corners here on this final lap and give himself the runway he needs to launch over the top of this corner. Cito Pods, turn 5. Kevin Verbruggen and Mick Claridge are about to try and mop up anything that happens between these top 2, but down the hill to the prime place to get it done. This is Danny Pedrosa's corner, dry sack corner, and it's covered again in the middle by Henry Morse. He didn't need to do that. Jack was never going to be close enough to make that move, but JDS is sniffing about, knowing he's got one great place to make the pass, but he's got to set up these corners. Now through turn 7, eyeing up turn 8. Hervé Trengerade is out of the race then from 11th place, or 10th place even, and that's a real shame. But now it's about Jack David Spickett. Can he find a way through, taking the run at turn 9 at Nieto? He sniffed for a chance against Henry Morse. He sniffs again out of Palucci. Alex Creville is the next corner right, and he's got to set these 2 corners up. This and Ferrari to eye up Jorge Lorenzo as the last great place to get the move. A cracking run out to that corner. Outside line searching goes JDS. Henry Morse holds the inside line and keeps it away again. 4 in a row. Henry Morse wins at Jerez.
He certainly does, Henry Morse, defending incredibly, defending like a lion, and he was able to hold that one ahead of JDS. It felt as though Spickett could have set himself up out of the final corner to try and get the run and beat him to the line, but he went for that outside, and Henry Morse had a defence like he had done so many times before. Verbruggen, 3rd place and taking that podium position, and Mick Claridge, unfortunate after the pace he showed early on in this race, dropping down to that 4th place, and a very well-earned 5th for Kundelis as he held that defence on Reed, who ended up 9th. And, well, it's a thoroughly deserved top 5 for every single one of them. They all drove incredibly today.
And for Hervé Trengare's issue, it was coming off of Cito Pons. He went upside down on the final lap of the race and completely demolished the car. But it is 4 straight wins for Henry Morse. He is now right in the driver's seat for the championship here, winning by 2/10 over Jack Davis Spickett, who gave everything for that final corner and couldn't quite make it work. Kevin Verbruggen will round out the podium with Mick Claridge in 4th position, who very nearly found himself at the race lead on multiple occasions, but early dramas dropped him down the time. Arturus Candelis would hold on and maintain 5th place ahead of the Olsons. John finishing ahead of Laus 6th and 7th, with Gary Ho exactly where he started in qualifying in 8th place. Jacob Reed from the back of the field was up as high as 5th place at points in this race, but drops all the way back now to 9th place as Gary Quellin, despite a spin, will round out your top 10.
Yeah, top 10, 11 seconds off of 9th, and it's Benjamin Shoko in that 11th place. Jack Wells taking 12th, and Josephine Becker in 13th. Mickey Friesen in 14th, and Luca Harrison 15th, with Jorge Gonzaga, who looked for so many moves in 16th. Robert Plumley in 17th, as he was unable to make his way through on Gonzaga. Stayed behind him the entire race. Ridley in 18th, Walker in 19th, and Harnby rounding out your top 20.
Over the page then, and it will be Matt Linden who will be 21st, and Roberto Pangrazzi having a tough day at the office, -9 then to fall back to 22nd, with David Tomaszki, the last finisher, on the leading lap. Retirees then, 4 of them. Hervé Trengarade on the final lap of the race. Jorge Lopez Izquierdo 5 laps from the end. Then Alan Graham and Seb Clapper, we know him as Seb Tixier, down there and finishes absolutely stone cold last for the troubles down at that section. We are going to get a chance, though, to talk to some of our drivers, and no better place to start than the driver who's just put 4 straight on the board, Henry Morse, with the win. And Henry, a case of trying to play keep away at the front. I don't think you had a single point in that race where you could truly relax.
No, there was a couple times where I pulled maybe a 10th or 2 going onto the back straight, and then I took a nice deep breath. But other than that, it was looking backwards about as much as I was looking forwards.
So talk us through dealing with the characters that you had around. Mick Claridge is no slouch. Jack David Spickett's no slouch. You've battled Kevin Verbruggen quite a bit over the course of this season. What made this Jerez circuit brilliant for you from a defensive standpoint?
Well, what I realized sort of a couple laps into this race is that this track is a lot closer quarters than a lot of the tracks we've run at. There's a lot more braking zones, the track's a lot wider, it's a lot more forgiving of mistakes, so there's going to be a lot more combat, if you will. So I realized that, yes, there'd be more opportunities to attack, but there's also be more opportunities to defend. If I took defensive lines like that at Olton, I would have been in the wall a lap later, right? So it was about finding how far I could push that limit as far as defense, as far as what I could still run into the corners and still get a decent exit, etc. And I was able to make it work. I learned a lot by watching in my mirrors, actually. Definitely one of my biggest weaknesses in this car is hard braking, and there's quite a bit of that here. And I was taking the wrong approach into a couple of the hairpins. I learned from behind me. They were reeling in a couple tenths on me, and then I sort of adapted that throughout the race and started running a couple of my fastest laps towards the end there. So it was just about being adaptable, really.
When you lock away 4 wins in a row, it puts you in the championship lead, heading over to possibly one of the greatest battle tracks that this series could possibly put together. How do you feel about Spa?
I am thrilled about the tracks across the board we have for the rest of the season. They're going to be awesome. The racing is going to be incredible. I haven't done any laps yet, but a friend of mine has done some laps, and it looks like a riot. And like you say, there's a lot of straightaways there, a lot of braking zones, and this car certainly likes those high-speed sections. It should be some awesome racing. And then I believe Sebring's after that, and then Canadian Tire after that. So a lot of really cool tracks, high-speed, old-school flowing tracks, which I vastly prefer to this type. So yeah, very excited.
So it looks like for Henry Morse, he's going to be on more comfortable ground. But when you've got 4 straight wins, I think anything can be classified as comfortable ground. Joining us then and picking up a huge race victory from us here today, But in terms of Jerez, there's more to talk about. Joseph Black has walked down the virtual pit lane. He's caught himself up with Kevin Verbruggen.
Yes, Kevin, I just want to know as well, hopefully you're able to hear us. But yeah, just talk me through that race, because it felt like there was a lot of moments where you weren't able to fall asleep at any point during that race. It was drama all throughout. Just talk me through your perspective.
Yeah, it was a tough race. I made a mistake in quali, which meant that I had to start from a little bit further back, but luckily had a good start. But yeah, the short way to tell it is just that there is no way to get past Henry on this track. He drove an amazing defense. You could see that Jack started pushing at the end, and he could not get alongside. I tried one time, and that unfortunately cost me the place to Jack, who did very well to hold it around the outside halfway down the track, which is I'm a bit annoyed that I let that happen, but great racing by him. But yeah, no downtime that race at all.
Yeah, and that's about the battle with Jack. What about the battle with Mick? Of course, he was up at the top, and he had that pace in that early stint, but it felt as though he may well have just fallen off a little bit. Was there any pressure applied in the early part of that stint? And, well, how did you deal with that?
Well, to be honest, at the start of the race, I did not want to put too much pressure on Mick, because I knew it's Mick. He is going to make some moves on Henry. And I was secretly hoping to profit off that. But yeah, then if he goes wide, I will go for a move, and we had some good racing side by side. Yeah, now that you mentioned Mick, he did. One of the reasons I also held back a little bit is because I was not fully confident on the brakes in the hairpins on this track. And just to make the front tires not completely melt, I held back a little bit. And yeah, you mentioned Mick. He let us know in the chat that at the end of the stint he tried pushing to get back, and he just melted his tires, which is a bit weird in this car. But yeah, I think it did secure the podium with that. Else I would have been there with Mick a bit further back.
Would you say that knowing the other drivers in that battle really benefited you then? And, well, would you say that it benefited you more at Jerez than anywhere else?
I don't know. I didn't have some good pace here at least. So that's... so at least I could fight at the front. And it was very, very close, but I don't know if it was any better than on other tracks. There was also a couple of the other fast guys who didn't, who didn't race today. But at least I had pace, and I hope to have the same pace in the coming races.
Yeah, speaking of the coming races, we will take a trip next to a neighbour of yours, to Spa-Francorchamps. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, Spa is an amazing track, of course, in any car. So I won't say no to that.
Well, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us today, and congrats on your podium.
Thank you.
Kevin Verbruggen there joining us and picking up a third place finish, but that will bring proceedings to a close here today from the Circuito de Jerez. Angel Nieto, a wonderful bit of battling here with us as part of a Genesis Extreme production on the Global Sim Racing channel. I want to give a massive thanks to the team who has brought this show over to you today. From Joseph, from Daniel, from Dougie, my name is Jake Sperry. But this is not the only thing that goes on with the Global Sim Racing channel, because in 1 week's time, we'll be jumping back in. I get married on that day. That is the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, which will be coming on next, and that will be a fantastic classic showdown. Classic pits will be used, which means your start line is not the chicane, but more rather the run-up to Eau Rouge and Radion. You can catch that with us, of course, at 1:30 UTC or 9:30 AM Eastern. But in terms of what we've got coming along for the entire week's worth of running. We've got the likes of IMSA Vintage, which will be up on the horizon, and as well as that, we have got the likes then of more great sim racing to come, with the likes of the Lotus 79s, and then back over the week once again for more great racing. As far as it goes, though, it's 4 straight, which makes the story all told. Henry Maurice is making sure that it's his title to go and challenge, and the best of the best through what they could at him. Mick Claridge bounced off. Jack David Spickett bounced off. Kevin Verbruchen bounced off. Who is going to find a way to stop the summer of Henry Maurice?